Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. How do you know when you should continue holding on or when it's time to let go? Depends what you're holding on to. There's some things we never let go of. Never let go of love. Whether the one you love loves you back or not. Never let go of love. Love is beautiful. Love fills us and connects us to life. Love isn't about, I love you, so you should love me back. Love is not a bargain. If you don't start loving me within 30 days, I will stop loving you. If you misbehave, I will stop loving you. If you don't do what I want, when I want, how I want it, I won't love you. That's bargaining. That's contract. That's not love. If you've got love, if you really love, hold on to it. Now, holding on, of course, doesn't mean suffocate it. But it means never let it go. Because love itself, the energy of love, the experience of love, regardless of what the one we love says or does or feels, the experience of loving, the experience of being love, connects us with our truest and highest nature. So never, never let go of love. Frustrations, grudges, expectations, let go of them immediately. Nothing worth holding on. They are recipes for disaster. So it depends what it is. Basically, the rule of thumb is, if it is enriching you, fulfilling you, helping you to expand, hold on to it. If it's not, if it's causing you to be suffocated, if it's causing you to contract, if it's pulling you away from truth, let it go. Especially if it's also not bringing you any joy. There's plenty of things that may not necessarily be eternal, but at least bring us joy in the moment. No problem. But the truth is, we know. Our own internal self knows when we find ourselves holding on to things. that we shouldn't be holding on to, some grudge, some pain, some false identity, some ego. There's a part of us that knows. We call that our higher self, or the divine voice, or truth. Puja Swamiji calls it our internal GPS. It knows. So allow it to tell you. When you're quiet, when you close your eyes and meditate, you know. That which is keeping you from being the truth of who you are, that's keeping you from living your highest truth, let it go. Any false illusion, any false identity, any ego, any grudge, any unfulfilled expectation that is keeping you stuck, let it go. And anything that is bringing you towards your freedom, hold on. Even if it's difficult, even if it's challenging. If you were dangling from a mountain cliff, holding on to a branch or a rope or whatever you had, a rock, it wouldn't be easy. But you'd hold on because you would know if I didn't hold on, I would die. So that which we hold on to doesn't necessarily mean that which is easy. Sometimes holding on to truth, holding on to our deepest truth, isn't easy. Sometimes holding on to that awareness, that knowing that we are supposed to be this instrument, this tool in God's hands, and not a slave to our ego or a slave to what the neighbors think or a slave to what some cultural agenda has told us. Sometimes that's very difficult. So don't let easy or difficult be what you judge it by. Don't let fun or not fun be how you decide. Decide on the basis of truth and untruth, expansion and contraction, freedom and bondage. Not freedom that license to decadence, not freedom that what I want, whenever I want, however I want. Not freedom that is an ignoring of our duty or our responsibility. Not that freedom. But the ultimate freedom that enables me to be free inside. Free of the games of the mind. Free of the games of the ego. If it's helping you with that, if it's bringing you closer to that, hold on. If it's not, let it go.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. There seems to actually be two parts here. The first is the head or heart, where God lives. The other is the part of other people's approval, other people's permission. So first of all, God is everywhere. God is in your head just as much as God is in your heart, just as much as God is in your toe, just as much as God is in your eye, in every cell of your being, in every atom, of every molecule, of every cell of your being. God is in the space between the whirling electrons of every atom, of every molecule, of every cell. So there is nowhere that God isn't. There is no rule that says God doesn't live in your mind. God is everywhere. The question becomes about that inner knowing, that voice. Now, of course, the voice of my brain, my mind, even my ego, and also the voice of my heart, they both and all play within me. I hear them all with my inner ear. It's not that they are actually on loudspeakers blaring at me from buildings. It's not that they're actually on a CD player playing in my room. They all are inside. So on the one hand, they're all inner voices. But what we do know is that the voice of the heart, and by that, I don't mean the voice of emotions. When we speak of the heart, it's that inner sense of knowing, where the brain figures things out. The heart knows. But that's not the emotional, feeling heart, because that keeps changing. We all know that making decisions in the throes of an emotion is not usually a decision that we're going to be happy with. No one would say, oh yeah, listen to your heart, it's angry now, go with whatever it says. Or listen to your heart, it's feeling very impulsive now, listen to it. It's in the throes of passion, listen to it. Those are temporary emotional states that actually exist much more in the brain than actually in the heart. When we speak about listening to the heart, it means that inner sense of knowing. That sense that when we get very quiet, when the voice of the ego, the voice of fear, the voice of what our culture says is right or wrong, what good girls do or don't do, or good boys do or don't do, or real men do or don't do, that when we get quiet from all that, and then we listen to the voice that seems to flow as though it were flowing on a river like Mother Ganga. It's not a shrieky voice. It's not a voice that's in a state of frustration or panic. But it flows. It flows within as an inner knowing. That's the voice of the heart. And it leads us into that which, again, as I was saying before, not always fun, not always easy, but that which is our truth. The dilemma, of course, is that you frequently have the ego also shouting inside. And the ego's got its own agenda. What about me? What's in it for me? This isn't how I wanted it. We've also got voice of fear. But what if I fail? But what's going to happen to me later on? This leap is not safe. But the heart withstands. And the heart knows. The heart knows that divine is speaking through me, that I am a tool, I'm an instrument. As a flower, as a tree, as a river, as a mountain. Whatever particular embodiment of creation I may be, the divine is flowing through me. And then other people, other people have a lot of agendas for us. Especially they have agendas that we make the same decisions they've made. Oh, you don't want to get married? Well, what do you mean you don't want to get married and have a family? Of course you should get married and have a family. That's what everybody does. What do you mean you don't want to have a normal job? Who will take care of you? How will you take care of yourself? What will we tell the neighbors? What will we tell our friends you do when they ask? What do you mean you want to be an artist? Artists don't make any money. Have a real job. So people have agendas for us that they'll always tell you it's for you. But the truth is, in most cases, especially their vehemence with which they try to convince you to do what they want you to do, is because it justifies the choice they made. They've lived this life that everyone lives, so of course you should live that. What do you mean you want to be an artist or a musician or a monk or renunciant? What do you mean you don't want to get married and have kids? What do you mean this? The very possibility that there are other options is something that scares a lot of people because most people don't think about it. Most people just kind of do exactly what their parents did, what everybody around them does. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's absolutely the right choice for many, 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 many people. But it's not the right choice for everyone. But so many people make that choice without even actually thinking about it. That when you think about it, and especially if you decide that isn't what your heart wants to do, every member of your family is an engineer. What do you mean you want to be something else? What do you mean you want to be a teacher? Be an engineer. Teachers don't make any money. We're all engineers. Every time you make a choice, it's a mirror in people's face about the choices they made or didn't make, about the freedom with which they did or didn't make their own choices. And so a lot of people will tell you, don't make those decisions because it's too scary for them. On the one hand, they do love you, and so it's too scary for them to think, oh my God, what will happen if it doesn't work out? But it's also too scary for them if it does work out for you. Because then, oh my God, maybe they could have made another choice. Maybe they did actually have the possibility to step into freedom that they didn't choose. It's important, though, especially with people who love you, to recognize that they're not out to get you. They're not out to be your jailers. They're not out to ruin your life. Listen to them. Give them at least the benefit of listening. And listen with an open mind. Listen with the awareness that these are people who love me. And you'll know in your heart whether it resonates. And if it does, fine. And if it doesn't, fine. But you may have to draw upon a lot of inner courage to be able to say to them, in the same way that I said to my parents almost 25 years ago, I love you, I respect you, I know that the decisions you made for your life are right for you. But they're not the right decisions for me. And if I want to end up at a different destination, I have to get on a different train. If I get on the same train you got on, I'm going to end up at the same place you ended up. And again, with all of the respect and all of the love and all of the awareness that it's exactly right for you, I'm aware that it's not right for me. And if you have that courage, and you have that love in your heart, and it's not an act of rebellion, but it's an act of just courage in your truth. The truth is a magnet. It'll slowly, slowly, slowly bring them towards you.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. I'm going through a rough time, and I always thought that getting angry would get me out of sadness. How can I overcome the sadness I feel for my children in this divorce? I feel responsible for my children not having a whole and normal family. So there's a few different issues here. Let's look at the first. I always thought anger would get me out of sadness, that if I just could get angry enough, I wouldn't be sad. Anger and sadness, anger and pain, are actually just two different manifestations, two different expressions of really the same situation. If it's internal within myself, I feel pain. When I can't bear that pain, or I think I can't bear that pain, I think that somehow that pain is going to make me come apart, or I'm afraid of that pain, or I think pain is weakness, I'm afraid of looking at the pain, I project it outward. How dare you make me feel like this? The dilemma is that all you're really doing is ping-ponging back and forth between two different aspects of the same situation within you. Neither how dare you, nor oh my God, my poor self, poor me, this is unbearable. Neither of those is actually pulling me out of the situation. Raise your hand here if you've ever gone through a difficult situation in life. Okay. So it doesn't have to be a divorce. There's a lot of difficult situations we face, and a lot of difficult situations that create pain. And a lot of times in which, when that pain is there, our most natural response to the pain is anger. Both of them arise from one situation and one situation only, which is how I expected the world to work out is not how it's worked out. What I wanted, and actually it's even deeper than just what I wanted. It's actually what I also expected and felt entitled to receiving. Because if I just wanted pasta for dinner, and he cooked Chinese food, but I didn't actually have any sense of expecting that he was going to make pasta. I didn't expect he was going to be able to read my mind. He never makes pasta. I wouldn't be angry or saddened by the lack of pasta. But if I've got an expectation and a sense of entitlement to getting what I've expected, this guy knows I want pasta. And if he doesn't, he should. Then when the Chinese food arrives, I'm angry. How dare he not do what I want? Or I'm sad. I never get what I want. The universe is against me. I'm never meant to be satisfied or full, or what I want, it never happens. She loves Chinese food. Why does she always get what she wants and I never get what I want? So it goes in all of these different ways. And I purposely choose kind of light-hearted situations. But it's the same when it's deep. We don't expect that an earthquake is going to come and cause our house to collapse, or a fire is going to come and cause it to burn down. And on some level, we actually feel entitled to that not happening. We feel entitled to the things that are ours staying in very good shape, like the universe sort of has this responsibility to protect that which is mine. My possessions, my body, the bodies of my loved ones, what I want. And so whenever things don't happen, my relationships, my job, when things don't happen according to what I want, what I expect, and what I feel entitled to receive, I feel pain about that. And that pain turned outward as anger. But make no mistake, the anger will never heal your pain, nor will the pain heal your anger. However, between the two, the pain is a truer emotion. Where you find yourself angry, look for pain. Ask yourself, what is it I am feeling pained about that is causing me to lash out? And then see whether you can change your expectation. Whether you can realize that the universe, while not there at your beck and call, while not your vending machine, actually is there, supporting and nourishing and nurturing and caring for and holding you. And it may not come how you thought it would. It may not come how you expected, how you wanted, how you felt entitled to. But that's not the universe's fault. That's a fault in my assumption. And so we shift the assumption to realizing, I'm being cared for. And that's actually the only way out of both the pain and the anger, is to drop into faith. A faith that if this is what has happened, this is what was supposed to happen, this is the most conducive situation for me to take my next step closer to God. Now realize, that is not complacency. That is not laziness. That is not giving in. Because I have the power in this moment to create the next moment. So if this moment is one that is not what I want, well, I can't rewind history, so I cannot undo this moment. My only opportunity in this moment is acceptance. And asking myself, okay, if this is what I've been given, how is it that I am supposed to use this loss, this divorce, this firing from my job, this tragedy, this disappointment, this pain? How am I supposed to use that to get closer to God? To unfold the truth of who I am? What illusion was I holding that the universe has given me this situation to dispel? Because there is nothing like tragedy and loss to dispel our illusions. And realize that although I can't rewind history and change this moment, based on how I am in this moment, I can change my next moment. And so it's not resignation. It's not, oh, this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. It's simply, this is how it is in this moment. And my highest calling in this moment is opening and acceptance and unfolding and waking up to whatever it is that is supposed to blossom through me in this moment. And asking myself, okay, what am I planting for the next moment? What seeds am I watering for the next moment? And when we do that, then we actually are changing the next moments. So it's, as I said, it's not resignation. It's simply acceptance in the moment and full power, consciously, to create the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. And so going back to the question, the sadness that this person feels about the divorce and the impact on the children. Well, realize that actually what impacts children the most is tension, is stress, is a sense of being pushed back and forth and pulled. And so if there is a divorce and that is what the present moment has brought, okay, how can I, regardless of my ex-spouse, how can I in this moment? Because the question, of course, had some other pieces I didn't read about what the ex-spouse is doing that's wrong. Because it's always very easy to point the finger and to say, I'm worried about what other people are doing that is wrong. And that is useless worry because you can't change what other people are doing. A lot of the time it's projection. A lot of the time it's denial. But aside from that, we can't even change it. So ask yourself, what can I do in this moment to bring stability and love and joy and peace in the life of my children? And that's what they need. It's not about a 2-parent home, a 3-parent home, a 4-parent home, a 1-parent home. It's about love and stability and presence. There are lots of stories of lots of people who have been raised brilliantly by a single parent, whether due to divorce or death or tragedy or whatever it may be, who have come out fantastically well. And there's lots of stories of people who have been a product of a 2-parent home, who have come out depressed and addicted and pathological and miserable. So it's not about the number of parental figures under one roof. It's about that which I am being parented with. Is it loving? Is it stable? Is it honoring of who I am? Or is it using of me as a pawn in the divorce? And that's really important. And if children are loved and honored and seen, that's what matters. And each of us individually, whether as part of a 2-parent home, part of a 3-parent home, part of a 4-parent home, the single parent in a 1-parent home, we have the ability to give that. Children do not grow up pathologically depressed because their parents were not, or the parent was not, rich or upper middle class. That is not a precursor of depression or anxiety or misery or pathology. But what ends up happening is we give up the time and the love and the presence and the attention and the connection with our children to give them more money and more opportunity. And what's most important to realize is what your children need is your presence. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a full-time job. It doesn't mean that there's a problem with nannies or daycare or anything like that. But it means when you are physically present, be there. Do not be checking your phone while your kids are telling you about the day. Do not be multitasking. Be with them. Whether it's an hour, doesn't matter how much time it is, whatever it is, be there, be present, be grounded, be love. Not just loving, but love. And your kids will be fine. That's what they need. And interestingly, that's what we need as the parents. When we feed what we need, we actually give that to our children. When we are grounded and anchored and connected and stable and joyful, that's what we give our children. So take care of yourself and you'll be taking care of them.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. I've been away from home since before the COVID pandemic started, but hopefully I will be going back to my home soon. I have this fantasy that everything is the same there as when I left. How do I cope with what the reality will be when I get there? So, COVID and the lockdowns in so many countries and stopping of international flights and closing of borders and all of the logistic mess that this pandemic has brought into our world. One of the pieces of it is so many people in so many parts of the world went there for a week, 2 weeks for some work and have found themselves there 3, 4, 5 months later. But the idea of a fantasy, an ideal fantasy of what it's going to be like when I see certain people again, when I go someplace again, a place I've always loved, when I'm again with loved ones. This isn't a new situation. This isn't something that COVID has brought on. This is something that summer vacations have created since we were in school. Is it going to be the same in September as it was in June when we left? It's the same that going off to college, to university has done. When we come back after 3 months or 6 months or a year, or in some cases a few years, if you go to university abroad. Time doesn't stop, it doesn't freeze, and it can't be rewound. And so any fantasy that you're holding on to, that a certain place is going to be like it always was, that it's going to be somehow frozen in time, the sooner you let go of that, the healthier you're going to be. The sooner that you let go of the idea that somehow anything valuable in life is stuck, is stagnant, the sooner you let go of that idea, the better you're going to be. When things get stuck, life stops. When rivers don't flow, it's when life stops. When water anywhere stops flowing, it's when disease breeds, right? You want to keep away malaria, keep away dengue fever, keep away all of these mosquito-based illnesses. What do? Make sure you have no standing water. Flowing water? Great. Standing water? No. Same thing in our lives. Don't hold on to a sense of, oh, it should be like it was. It'll never be like that. And the truth really is, it never was like that anyway. Memory is an extraordinary thing. We take it as somehow a science. As I remember it is as it was. As you remember it now is a product in which how it was is one ingredient, but there's so many other spicy ingredients in that mixture, including how happy you are now or how unhappy you are now, how much you've achieved since that time or how little you've achieved since that time, what emotional state you're in. We actually rewrite history. We rewrite our memories. So never expect, oh, it's going to be like it was. But instead, think, I'm so excited to go back to these people I love, to see these people I love again, and to come together in a whole new way. Because you're not the same person you were pre-COVID. You're not the same person you were 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. However long you've been away, you've changed. Hopefully. Hopefully you haven't just spent the last 3 or 4 or 6 months waiting to get back. Hopefully somewhere along the way you've grown. You've blossomed, you've changed, you've transformed, you've learned something. You've evolved in some spiritual way. Through the challenge, through separation, through frustration, through fear, through having to let go. Hopefully, you've allowed yourself to blossom and transform, which means the you who is going back to see whoever it is in your family, whether it's parents and siblings, whether it's a spouse, your children, the you is different. So be excited to see them. But excited to see them in your newness. Because otherwise, you have to go back to being who you were in order to make the relationship as it was. And this is where our relationships actually become very bad for us. In order to hold on to a relationship, if I have to not grow, not change, not evolve, because somehow that throws the balance of the relationship off kilter, then that's not a good relationship to be in. Then it means that those people, instead of really loving me, just love the way that I fit into their agenda. And that's not love, that's a contract basis. So if it's really loved ones, they're going to love for you to grow. They're going to love for you to change. Doesn't mean it's always easy. But if they love you, they'll love for you to grow. So be excited to see them again in your newness, in your transformed state, whether it's little, whether it's big, whether it's subtle or gross. But meet them in the truth of today, not the truth of who you were 6 months ago. Because of course they will have changed as well. They've also struggled. They've had fear that they've overcome. They've had challenge. And if you need them to be exactly the same way they were 6 months ago, then you're not good for them. And again, this isn't just COVID, this is life. Because we even change under the same roof with people. We don't only change when we're away from them. And that same attachment to, oh, it should be just the way it always was, which actually it never was, but it's how I remember it being for those 2 beautiful hours at some point in some random moment of time. If you're attached to that, you squeeze life out of yourself and out of your loved ones. Life and love is a flow. It's a flow like a river flows. It's a flow like a tree grows and sometimes gives fruit and sometimes doesn't. It's a flow like the earth turns. It's a flow like the constellations in the night sky change from day to day, month to month. Life is in flow. And if you try to stop the flow, you're pushing against life. So meet them with joy and love and newness and truth of where you each are at this moment, and allow your love to unite you again, not the way it did before, but in a new way, in an even deeper, more beautiful way.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week, and I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.